Welcome. Today we're diving into the world of positive and negative numbers, also known as integers. Whether you realize it or not, you encounter these numbers every day, from checking the weather to keeping track of your money. In this lesson, we'll break down what positive and negative numbers mean, how to find them on a number line, and how to use them in real life. Let's get started by exploring a simple, relatable example that will help set the stage for our learning journey. Imagine it's 5 degrees outside. Suddenly, the temperature drops by 10 degrees. What happens? The answer is degrees. This is a perfect example of how negative numbers show up in our daily lives. When something decreases past zero, we use negative numbers to describe it. This simple scenario introduces us to the concept of numbers below zero, which we call negative numbers. Let's see how this connects to the bigger picture of integer. Integers are whole numbers that can be positive, negative, or zero. Positive numbers are greater than zero, like 1, 2, or 10. Negative numbers are less than zero, like -1, -5, or -100. Zero sits right in the middle. These numbers help us measure changes, losses, and gains in many situations. Understanding integers is essential for solving problems in math and in real life. Let's look at how we can represent these numbers visually. Number line is a simple way to see how positive and negative numbers relate to each other. Picture a straight line with zero in the center. Numbers to the right of zero are positive and numbers to the left are negative. This visual tool helps us understand where numbers fall and how they move. Whenever you're unsure about adding or subtracting integers, drawing a number line can make things much clearer. Positive numbers are all the numbers greater than zero. They represent things like gains, increases, or anything above a starting point. For example, if you earn $10, that's a positive number. On the number line, positive numbers are always to the right of zero. Remember, positive numbers don't have to show a plus sign, they're positive by default unless there's a minus sign. Negative numbers are less than zero. They show losses, decreases, or anything below a starting point. For instance, if you owe someone $5, that's a negative number. On the number line, negative numbers are always to the left of zero. Don't think of them as bad, they're just another way to describe values below zero. Zero is the dividing point between positive and negative numbers. It's neither positive nor negative. Zero is important because it helps us separate gains from losses, increases from decreases. On the number line, zero is always in the middle, acting as the reference point for all other numbers. See positive and negative numbers everywhere. Checking the weather, you might see temperatures below zero. In your bank account, a negative balance means you owe money. Even when hiking, elevation above or below sea level uses positive and negative numbers. These real-life examples make integers practical and important to understand. When you add integers, you're combining values. If both numbers are positive, the result is positive. If both are negative, the result is negative. But what if you add a positive and a negative? The answer depends on which number is bigger. Let's look at some examples to see how this works in practice. Adding a negative number is just like subtracting. For example, 3 plus 5 equals 2. You start at 3 on the number line and move 5 spaces to the left, landing at 2. This rule helps you quickly solve problems involving negative numbers. Remember, adding a negative is the same as subtracting that number. Subtracting integers can be tricky, but there's a simple rule. Subtracting a negative is the same as adding. For example, 4, 2 equals 2. On the number line, you start at 4 and move 2 spaces to the right, ending at 2. This visual can help you remember the rule and solve problems more easily. Number line is your best friend when working with integers. To add or subtract, start at the first number and move left or right depending on the operation. This visual approach makes it easier to see how numbers change and helps you avoid mistakes. Practice using the number line for every problem until you feel confident. Let's try a practice problem together. What is 3 plus 7? Start at 3 on the number line and move 7 spaces to the right. You'll land at 4. This shows how adding a positive number moves you to the right even if you start with a negative number. Practicing these problems helps you build confidence and speed. Now let's try 5, 2. Start at 5 on the number line. Since you're subtracting a negative, move 2 spaces to the right. You'll end up at 7. This example shows how subtracting a negative increases your total. Keep practicing to get comfortable with these rules. Money is a great way to understand positive and negative numbers. If you owe $15, that's 15. If you earn $10, that's plus 10. Your balance is 15 plus 10, which equals 5. This means you still owe $5. Using money examples helps make these concepts real and easy to grasp. Temperature often uses negative numbers. If it's 10 degrees outside and the temperature rises by 15 degrees, what's the new temperature? Start at 10 and move 15 spaces to the right on the number line. You'll land at 5 degrees. This example shows how changes in temperature can cross from negative to positive. Elevation is another real-life use of integers. Sea level is 0. A mountain peak at plus 2000 feet is above sea level, while a submarine at 100 feet is below sea level. These positive and negative numbers help us describe locations in relation to a reference point, making them useful in geography and science. Let's do a quick check. What is 3 plus 7? Start at 3 on the number line and move 7 spaces to the right. You'll land at 4. This simple problem helps reinforce the rule that adding a positive number moves you right even from a negative starting point. Here, another one, 5, 2. Remember, subtracting a negative is the same as adding, so 2 becomes 5 plus 2, which equals 7. This reinforces the rule and helps you solve problems quickly and accurately. Last quick check, if you owe $15 and earn $10, what's your balance? Owing is 15, earning is plus 10. Add them together, 15 plus 10 equals 5, you still owe $5. This example ties together money and integers, making the concept practical and memorable. Let's review the key rules. Adding a negative is like subtracting. Subtracting a negative is like adding. Use the number line to help you see which direction to move. These simple guidelines will help you solve any integer problem with confidence. Integers aren't just for math class. You'll see them in bank statements, weather reports, and even sports scores. Recognizing positive and negative numbers in your daily life helps you understand their importance and makes math more meaningful. The number line is a powerful tool for understanding integers. It gives you a visual way to see how numbers relate and change. Whenever you're stuck, sketch a quick number line to help you figure out the answer. With practice, you'll rely on it less, but it's always there to help. Think about earning points in a game or saving money. These are positive numbers in action. Every time you gain something, you're adding a positive number. Recognizing these situations helps you see how often positive numbers appear in your life. Negative numbers show up when you lose points, spend money, or drop below a starting point. For example, if you spend more than you have, your balance goes negative. Understanding these situations helps you manage real-life challenges more effectively. 0 is unique because it's the boundary between positive and negative. It's the starting point for measuring changes. Whether you're tracking temperature, money, or elevation, 0 helps you know when you've crossed from positive to negative or vice versa. What happens when you add two negative numbers? The answer is always more negative. For example, 3 plus 4 equals 7. On the number line, you move further left. This rule helps you quickly solve problems involving two negatives. Adding two positive numbers is straightforward. For example, 2 plus 5 equals 7. On the number line, you move right. This is the most familiar operation and helps reinforce your understanding of positive numbers. Subtracting one negative number from another can be confusing. Remember, subtracting a negative is the same as adding. For example, 3 becomes 6 plus 3, which equals 3. This rule helps you solve these problems quickly. Subtracting two positive numbers is familiar. For example, 5 equals 3. On the number line, you start at 8 and move 5 spaces to the left. This operation is the foundation for understanding more complex integer problems. When adding a positive and a negative number, the sign of the answer depends on which number is bigger. For example, 7 plus 4 equals 3 because 7 is bigger than 4 and it's negative. This rule helps you quickly determine the sign of your answer. Let's practice. What is 6 plus 9? Start at 6 on the number line and move 9 spaces to the left. You'll land at 3. This shows how the negative number outweighs the positive, resulting in a negative answer. Try this. 5. Start at 8 and move 5 spaces to the left. You'll end up at 13. This example shows how subtracting a positive from a negative makes the result even more negative. What about 6? Start at 4 and move 6 spaces to the right. You'll land at 10. Subtracting a negative increases your total, which is a key rule to remember. Sports scores can go negative, especially in games where penalties subtract from your score. If your team has 10 points and loses 12 points in penalties, your score is 2. This is another way negative numbers appear in real life. If your bank account is at 0 and you spend $20, your balance becomes 20. This negative balance means you owe money. Understanding this helps you manage your finances and avoid overdraft fees. When hiking, you might be above or below sea level. If you're 100 feet below sea level, that's 100 feet. If you climb to 500 feet above sea level, that's plus 500 feet. These numbers help describe your position in the world. If the forecast says 5 degrees, it's colder than 0. If it warms up to 10 degrees, you've crossed from negative to positive. This is a simple way to see how integers work in weather reports. To master positive and negative numbers, always check the signs, use the number line, and remember the rules for adding and subtracting. Practice with real-life examples to make the concept stick. With time, you'll find these problems much easier. Watch out for common mistakes like forgetting to change the sign when subtracting a negative or moving the wrong way on the number line. Double-check your work and use the number line to avoid errors. The more you practice, the better you'll get at working with positive and negative numbers. Try solving problems from your daily life like tracking money or temperatures. Practice builds confidence and helps you remember the rules. Let's try one last problem. What is 2 plus 9? Start at 2 on the number line and move 9 spaces to the right. You'll land at 7. This quick check helps reinforce everything you've learned today. Try this for 3. Start at 4 and move 3 spaces to the right. You'll end up at 7. This problem shows how subtracting a negative increases your total. Last one, if you have 8 and add 5, what's the result? Start at 8 and move 5 spaces to the right. You'll land at 3. This reinforces the rule that adding a positive moves you right even from a negative starting point. Great job! Today you learned how to work with positive and negative numbers, use the number line, and apply these concepts to real-life situations. Remember, positive means above 0, negative means below 0, and 0 is the center. Keep practicing and you'll master integers in no time. Thanks for joining this lesson.